Hello everyone, I'm Ruby Larkspur. Welcome to the garden, and welcome to part 2 of my Scattered Embers of Broken Hearts / Age and Fate Swap AU Hashira. This one's going to cover the boys, and I would recommend you go to part 1 for more context. And just like the previous video, manga spoilers are ahead, so proceed with caution. With that, let's get started. Of course, to start off this round of Hashira, we have Tanjiro. Tanjiro, who in this AU is the Sun Hashira. To make a long story short, a few generations after Sumiyoshi learned sun breathing, aka Hinokami Kagura from Yoriichi, a demon attacked Mount Kumatori yet again. This time, the Kamado family had to fight out the demon themselves and ended up joining the Corps shortly after. Thus, since then, the Kamado family has been passing down the sun breathing techniques and producing Sun Hashira since that point. The latest in this line is, of course, Tanjiro. Unfortunately, as is usually the case with the Corps, even the happiest times are not free from tragedy. Tanjiro was away for final selection, and Tanjiro, their dad, was away on a mission. Tanjiro came home and quickly discovered a demon had found and gotten into his home. His mother and siblings had been killed with the exception of Nezuko, who was still wounded and fighting off the demon. So, despite his own injuries, Tanjiro jumped in to protect his last living sibling. Of course, this ended with him being even more injured than before, getting another scar aside from the one he got from final selection. Luckily, Tanjiro and Nezuko were saved in the nick of time by their father. Since then, all the remaining Kamado family could do was be there for each other, if only so they all stayed afloat. When he was 15, 2 years after his final selection, Tanjiro became a Hashira. Since then, he has been serving the Corps the best he can. 4 years after becoming a Hashira, he met a pair of adopted siblings who would change a lot for him and the rest of the Corps. As you can see, not much overall changed. Tanjiro gets to keep his ponytail, though. We all miss the ponytail. Seriously, when I showed a few friends Demon Slayer for the first time, we all mourned the ponytail. I resurrect the ponytail in pretty much every AU I make. Usually because they don't involve him dealing with Gyu hacking it off like an at-home haircut tutorial. Videos which pay me as someone who taught cosmetology in high school. Also, Tanjiro was the first one to meet Kyojuro in Demon Mitsuri. I had tossed around a few others, but then I let Tumblr handle it, and it worked out pretty well. The Sunshine Boy randomly sends a pair of kids for his dad to train, and it goes from there. Tanjiro also helps with training Kyojuro, as does Nezuko, whenever they get the chance to drop by either home between missions. Coming back to the Hashira, due to the sheer power of the sun breathing techniques, as well as the respect that the Kamado family has within the Corps, the Sun Hashira is considered a secondary leader in the Corps, after the Ubuyashiki family, of course. So basically, if anything happens to the Ubuyashiki family that they're wiped out, the Kamado family are the de facto leaders. Although with the sun breathing track record, it's usually the Kamados getting killed off, not gonna lie. Thanks, Muzan. Thanks, Kokushibo. Extreme sarcasm is extremely obvious. Tanjiro is, of course, still the lovely and kind boy we all know and love. Being raised and trained in the world of a demon slayer hasn't taken that. And he's got the cannon squad. Sorry, I don't know what that was. He's really a big brother to most of the Hashira. Really, only Sayo sees him as a younger brother, even when most of them are older than him. And that's because she met him when he was about 10. Really, the only thing different is that demons almost always panic when faced with him. 400 years of similar-looking guys terrorizing every demon does that. Especially because, and this idea came from a retired Tanjiro, as a Hashira, Tanjiro, the dad, as a Hashira fic. It's called the Sun Hashira. I cannot remember the author right now. Either way, Tanjiro scared off an upper moon. I think it was Akaza. I won't say, but in this AU, I won't say which one he scared off. But it was the one time Muzan didn't take his frustrations out on the demon that escaped. That demon fought Yoriichi 2.0. They were lucky to be alive. And that is Tanjiro finished. Let's move on to the next Hashira. Next up, we have the Scared Doritos Man, Zenitsu. Zenitsu's got pretty much the same backstory as Kanon, though a little earlier in the timeline for obvious reasons. And being Kaigaku Senior instead of Junior may actually change how things end for Kaigaku. I'm not set on it yet, so only might change, but yeah. Zenitsu was abandoned by his parents, racked up a lot of debt from girlfriends who treated him like crap, got taken in by Jigoro and was trained as a demon slayer with a great protest. All that happened just 6 years earlier in the canon. Since he's a little older, Zenitsu has matured a fair bit from when his journey began. He's not just girl crazy and has actually been in a relationship for a few years when he meets the Hashira at the trial. And he's also a bit more confident in himself, having aggressively positive friends who are just plain aggressive, plus a girlfriend who suplex him if he self-deprecates too much, at least help boost his confidence. He still has moments when he's nervous wreck, but they're few and far between now. As he only mastered one of the original thunder-breathing forms and had to create his own, Zenitsu is a bit of an outcast among the Hashira and the core of the whole. Some slayers have even spread the rumor that he's just keeping the seat warm until someone, quote-unquote, more qualified is eligible. They may or may not be referring to his fellow student under Jigoro. But since meeting the Kamado siblings, Zenitsu has been working on mastering the other 5 thunder-breathing forms and can at least do them to a level where he can get by on them. Nowhere near his mastery of Thunder Clipping Flash or Flaming Thunder God. Is it Flaming or Raging? I can't remember. I should reread my copy of the manga. But it's an improvement nonetheless. You will also notice that Zenitsu has lightning scars. I think they're called Lichtenberg scars, but feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. This was mostly aesthetic and to help change his look, so I haven't thought much about how he got it. Again, it was to kind of show he's a little older. Maybe he got struck by lightning again. I'm not sure if it's entirely out of the realm of possibility that it happened a second time. It could be entirely possible. I've heard the rumor that when a person gets struck by lightning, they become more likely to attract lightning to them. And, yeah. Wouldn't be surprised if the boy's a human lightning rod. I can definitely see everyone taking it as a sign from the gods or something. Zenitsu just wishes he'd stop being fried by Mother Nature and any thunder, lightning, or storm gods in the Shinto lineup of deities. Also, can I just say, his hair is surprisingly difficult. Sir, why do you have upside down french fries for hair? Seriously, I need practice and lots of references to draw this man's hair even somewhat accurately. It took me ages to figure out before I even attempted this, and I think I still need to work on it. You'll also notice I just gave his sword a yellow sharp edge instead of adding the lightning thing. I just didn't feel like adding the lightning thing, much less smushing it around for the part where his sword is pointed forward. I kind of like my sanity, and there are already some people in this lineup that are driving me clinically insane with the way they're designed. But you'll see them a little later in the video. But for now, I'm just putting the finishing touches on Zenitsu, doing the shading and stuff, and then he will be very much done and ready for us to move on. There we go, he's done. And let's move on to the next of the Hashira. As we continue the Kamaboko squad, we move to the King of the Mountains. That's right, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Inosuke Hashira. You think you'd approve that intro? I like to think you would. As usual, Inosuke's backstory has just been pushed back in time. So Koto is still dead, unfortunately. So he's still a feral war man. But he has a family in the Hashira. Of course, his meeting with the Kamaboko squad didn't go the same as canon, as there wasn't a demon for him to stab. I'm not sure about the exact happenstance, but ends in broken ribs and a lot of bruises and maybe a concussion. He definitely tried to fight one of them being Tanjiro, Nezuko, or Zenitsu. It ended poorly either way. Inosuke is here to fight and to be the very best that no one ever was. He does kind of give off Cubone vibes now that I think about it. Where's his adopted mom's head now that she's dead? Definite Cubone vibes. And yes, I gave our boy a shirt. I'm just realizing this now, but I absolutely should have given him more fur when I was designing him. Oh well, these are subject to change anyways. I'll just add the fur next time I draw him. But he refuses to button up unless it's freeze your biddies off cold, which is about twice as low as it is for most people for him. This man grew up in the mountains with only a loincloth and a boar's head for extra layers and managed to survive to his teen years, never mind adulthood. You cannot tell me he doesn't have a resistance to cold through 1.5 to 2 decades of sheer stubbornness and spite. It drives everyone crazy. The only reason he wears one at all is because everyone he cared about most expected him to. Well, more begged him to. They were like, please, Inosuke, put on a shirt. Speaking of who he cares about most, you know how Inosuke gets names wrong all the time? Well, here it's a game for him. He just has fun mutilating names, but his favorite people are the ones whose names he will almost always say right unless he feels particularly silly. His favorites are Aoi and Nezuko, with Kanao and Tanjiro being pretty close seconds. So, he will sometimes spend a day he's saying Tanjiro and Kanao's names correctly, and most of the time he'll say Nezuko and Aoi's names correctly. Of course, sadly, Aoi is dead. Speaking of which, Inosuke did actually fight Doma for a bit, and he did find out about his mom around the same age he does in canon in his teen years. And Doma actually decided to let Inosuke go with what he claimed to be out of respect for Kotoha. I am kind of on the Dokoto boat, but at the same time, I'm like, it needs to be in specific circumstances. Namely, ones that don't end in Doma eating Kotoha. But yeah. So Doma kept Inosuke alive out of what he claimed to be respect for Kotoha. And Inosuke took that as an insult, as he does, because he's Inosuke. And yeah, he took it as a challenge, and especially after losing Aoi, has declared that he will end Doma with his own two bare hands. Good for him. The boy deserves it. And here we are with the finishing touches on Inosuke, and that means our King of the Mountains is completed. On to the last of the Kamaboko squad. Time for the last of our Kamaboko boys, Genya! The guy who brings a shotgun to a knife fight and has the old Uno reverse in hand for the demons. I love him. He's either the Breathless or the Demon Hashira, depending on who you ask and if they know about his unique digestive tract. Of course, this makes Genya the oldest of the Shindezugawas. We all know what this means. Genya killed his mom, which obviously not good. Rest in peace, Mrs. Shindezugawa, and Shindezugawa babies number 1 through 7. 1 and 2 are still kicking, and the sperm donor deserves no peace, as we all know. Wish you well in hell and all that to Kyoko Shindezugawa. Back to the backstory. So, after he realized what was going on, Genya reasonably freaked out. I think most of us would freak out in this situation. But then he ran away when he realized Sanemi was approaching. Genya didn't want Sanemi to see him in his current condition, covered in blood and standing over their dying mother. I figured he could at least try and let Sanemi keep those happy memories of their mother, not, killing their siblings brutally. God, this backstory is messed up. The Shindezugawa siblings need so much therapy. I mean, everyone in this universe needs therapy. Not just this alternate universe, but like the Demon Slayer universe. Everyone needs so much therapy. Eventually, Genya was found by Sao after he had eaten a demon. She, following the logical course of action after he see a kid eat a demon, brought him to the serious state for medical care. After that, he became a demon slayer, got aggressively befriended by the Kamado siblings, and became the first of the Hashira to reach the rank without a breath style. At least since they were introduced, if the Hashira existed pre-Yorichi introducing the breathing styles. If they did, first Hashira to do so without a breathing style since the breath styles were introduced. If not, then first Hashira to reach the rank without a breath style, period. His ability has actually made him a bit more accepting of Mitsuri, seeing demanding her execution as him being hypocritical when he also used demon abilities, even if he wasn't a full-time demon. That's actually weird to me. Anyways, yeah, it's given... The transformations have gotten more intense since the first time, so the yellow tips are a permanent fixture. It's hard to see here, but he has slit pupils, and the yellow tips in his hair are permanent, and he also has slight fangs. The Kamaboko boys are done. Move on to the next Hashira. Now we have the remaining 2 Hashira that are not in the canon Kamaboko squad. Starting with a familiar fox boy, Sabito, all grown up and with his head intact. Can't say the same for Giyu, though. Sorry, Giyu lovers, your boy's dead. Thanks, hand demon. Obvious sarcasm is obvious. So yeah, as is the norm in Demon Slayer, therapy is needed. Desperately. I hope the Corps has a therapist of some sort, for the love of God. They better, and they better be on a good damn payroll. Also, as a prelude, I did not put the hexagon pattern on Sabito's Haori. I did include it, just not on the Haori for sake of my sanity. Sabito, why do you have this pattern? Do you know how long I've been trying to figure this out? Both the pattern and then the color? You get Kyahan, and that's it, young man. Keep your white Haori and your little fox mask. That's how you're gonna be iconic. Oh, speaking of which, the fox mask got cracked during final selection. Sabito barely dodged an attack, and it cracked the upper half of his mask. After final selection, when he returned to Urokodaki, Sabito put the pieces back together and repainted it with some blue details. in reference to Gyu's eyes. Is this Sabi Gyu? I will leave that to your imaginations. He also held on to the Haori Gyu kept from Tsutoku, taking a small piece of it out and his own kimono to make himself a pair of kyahan. So mismatched Haori is instead mismatched kyahan. For those of you who don't know, the kyahan are the leg guards that people have, like what Zenitsu has and Nezuko has. It's basically the leg wrappings that most of the Demon Slayers have on their bodies. Whether that is for warmth or actual protection, I have yet to figure out. Maybe it's just a stylistic choice. And yeah, since battle selection, Sabito's hatred of demons has grown tenfold, especially those who have preferences for their victims, like the hand demon did for the students of his mentor, Urokodaki. And since he became a slayer, many a demon find a kitsune mask to be the last thing they see before they are cut down by the water Hashira's vengeful current. Yeah, Gyu dealt with his problems with a lot of self-deprecating. Sabito got very, very aggressive in the wake of literally everything that happened. Did I mention before that Demon Slayer characters need therapy? I swear, because if they don't have a therapy in the Demon Slayer Corps, they need to get one, and they need a freaking good payroll. Because some of the shenanigans that these kids have got to come into this place with, it's a lot. It is a lot. Usually including dead family, because man-eating demons. Yeah, this universe is messed up, but it's also fun to watch, so I like it. But yeah. Anyways, here is Sabito all finished up. Let's move on to the last of these guys. And finally, we cover the youngest Hashira with a familiar face, Yuichiro Tokito. 2 guesses what happened to Muichiro. If you guess he's very dead, congratulations! Unlike Muichiro, who lost his memory in canon, Yuichiro remembered everything. It's given him a horrible guilt complex, remembering the last thing he had said to Muichiro before his twin died being nothing short of venom. He hadn't meant to be so cruel, he just didn't know how to steer Muichiro away from the path that would kill him. But now he's haunted by the fact he never apologized to his twin. This has also created an inferiority complex. Yuichiro believes his life to be a fluke, even after becoming a Hashira, and it should have been Muichiro that got to live as a demon slayer. That's what Yuichiro thinks. The guilt complex is strong with this one. And what did I say about therapy again? Yeah. The Hashira are the majority of the therapists' pay grade, let's be real. Because some of them have so much trauma. They probably don't have a therapist, come to think of it. If they did, Sanemi would not have the emotional constipation that he does in canon. Anyways, back to Yuichiro. Yeah, I don't think I can say it loud enough. Yes, I am well aware I'm writing them to need therapy in this AU. They still need therapy so badly. If anything, they need more therapy when I'm writing them. You do not want to know what my 3 main impulses are with Tanjiro. But yeah, it's not good. And as we segue from the depressing stuff, I'm here to tell you what breath style Yuichiro uses. Because it isn't mist like Muichiro uses. Yuichiro uses moon breathing. Grandpa Kokushibo is going to be so proud of you, Yui. How does he learn it? Yoriichi got to meddling when Yuichiro struggled with every other breath style in the book. Since there was no official record of moon breathing, of course, Yuichiro had to learn it from his distant relative, who visited him in his dreams as a ghost. He was confused for months, but decided to roll with it. There are worse ways to spend a night than hanging out with your relative's ghost and learning an ancient fighting style. Yoriichi was just happy to meet some not deceased or demonic family. So yeah, they bonded. And now I'm debating on whether or not Yuichiro learns that Kokushibo is his ancestor before Infinity Castle, purely because Yoriichi and him were chilling, and Yoriichi's just telling his backstory, and then he's like, oh yeah, by the way, my brother's the one who had kids. I had no offspring. My wife is dead, and I'm pretty sure you're my brother's descendant. And Yoriichiro's just sitting there like, wait, what? What? I'm descended from a demon? I mean, he wasn't a demon when your ancestor after him was born, but yeah, Yoriichiro's gonna have so many bombs dropped on him. Please help this boy. He's 14. He doesn't deserve all this stress. He's too young for it. Anyways, that is Yuichiro finished, and that is the last of the Hashira. With that, we close out the Hashira in this story of Scattered Embers and Broken Hearts. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you have a favorite of the Hashira, either in this video or my previous one, then do feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Farewell!